Hello everyone, good day. This is Raramaitia Puya, and I'm with my partner Christy Ganade. In this video, we are about to discuss the wireless world. The wireless world or wireless network is a computer network that uses wireless data connections between network nodes. Example of wireless networks include cell phone networks, wireless local area networks, wireless sensor networks, satellite communication networks, and terrestrial microwave networks. The wireless networking has considerable appeal in any circumstances. It appeals to create temporary connections into existing wired networks, establish backup or contingency connectivity for existing wired networks. It extends a network span beyond the reach of wire or fiber optic-based cabling, especially within older buildings in which rewiring may be too expensive. So example to the wireless networks is this picture. I know you guys are familiar to it since we are in a pandemic area and we are depending on the internet connection or Wi-Fi that we are using as students now. So next, there are three types of wireless networks. First is the local area networks or LANs. A computer network that spans a relatively small area. It is a wireless components act as part of an ordinary LAN, usually to provide connectivity for roving users or changing environments, or perhaps to provide connectivity across areas that might not otherwise be networkable. Example to this includes older buildings where installing wiring would be impractical, or across right-of-ways where cabling might not be permitted. A system of LANs is also connected in this way. It is called a wide area network or WAN. Next is the extended LANs. Extended LANs is an organization might use wireless components to extend the span of a LAN beyond normal distance limitation for wire or fiber optic-based cables. It is also an extension mechanism use standard interface hardware and insert additional hardware components that can extend signals at longer distances. Lastly, the mobile computing. Mobile computing is a uses communicate using a wireless network medium such as radio or cellular telephone frequencies that permit them to move while remaining attached to a network. An easy way to differentiate among these uses is to distinguish in-house from carrier-based facilities. Both LAN and extended LAN uses of wireless networking involve equipment that an organization owns and controls. However, mobile computing typically involves a third party that supplies the necessary transmission and reception facilities to link the mobile part of a network with the wired part. Most often, the company that provides such services is a communications carrier, such as GTE, MCI, or AT&T, that offers wireless communication for data as well as voice to its customer. Next is a wireless LAN application. The wireless LAN are applicable to all industries with a need for mobile computer use or when the installation of physical media is not feasible. The wireless component of most LANs behave like their wired counterparts except for the media and the related hardware involved. The operational principles are much the same. It's still necessary to attach a network interface of some kind to computer, but the interface attaches to an antenna and an emitter rather than to a cable, users can still access the network just as if cable connects them to it. So wireless LANs are especially useful when employees must process information on the spot, directly in front of customers or coworkers via electronic-based forms and interactive menus. Wireless networking makes it possible to place portable computers in the hands of mobile frontline workers such as doctors, nurses, warehouse clerks, inspectors, claims adjusters, real estate agents, and insurance salespeople. Some wireless LANs applications use small individual transceivers, which may be wall-mounted or freestanding to attach individual computers or devices to a wired network. Regardless, you may still see such technologies advertised as wireless LANs. So next is the wireless LANs transmission. All wireless communication depend on sending and receiving signals broadcast through the atmosphere to ferry information between network devices. So what is transmission? It is the act or process of sending electrical signals to a radio, television, computer, and etc. So in a wireless communication, frequency affects the amount and speed of data transmission. The strength or power of the transmission determines the distance that broadcast data can travel and still remain intelligible. The middle part of the electromagnetic spectrum is commonly divided into several named frequency, ranges, or bands. These are the commonly frequencies for wireless data communication. The electromagnetic spectrum are divided into three parts, which are the radio, the microwave, and the infrared. So there are four primary technologies for transmitting and receiving data. First is the infrared. Second, the laser. Third, the narrow band single frequency radio. And fourth, the spread spectrum radio. Infrared LAN technologies. Infrared LAN technologies, they use infrared light beams to send signals between pairs of these devices. Example to this is the use of 3310 phones way back. They use infrared in order to connect the other cell phone just like 3310. There are four primary kinds of infrared LANs include line-sight networks, reflective wireless networks, scatter infrared networks, and broadband optical telepoint networks. The line-sight networks requires an unobstructed view or a clear line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver. The reflected wireless networks broadcast signals from optical transceivers near individual devices to a central hub, which then forwards the signal to their intended recipients. Third, the scatter infrared networks bounce transmission of walls and ceilings to deliver signals from sender to receiver. Last, the broadband optical telepoint networks provide broadband services. This technology offers high speed and wide bandwidth, can handle high-end multimedia traffic, and matches the capabilities of most modern wired networks. Second, of the four primary technologies for transmitting and receiving data is the laser band LAN technologies. It is to protect humans from injury and to avoid excess radiation. Laser-based LAN devices are subject to many of the same limitations as infrared, but are not as subject to interference from visible light resources. Third, narrow-band single-frequency radio or LAN technologies. It is a two-way radio communication, much like those used in taxicabs, police communication, and other private radio systems. Spread spectrum radio LAN technologies. It addresses several weaknesses of single-frequency communication, whether high or low power. Rather than using a single frequency, spread spectrum uses multiple frequencies simultaneously, thereby improving reliability and reducing susceptibility to interference. Also, using multiple frequencies makes eavesdropping more difficult because of how individual frequencies used together for spread spectrum communications. There are two main kinds of spread spectrum radio LAN technologies. First is the frequency hopping. Frequency hopping switches data among multiple frequencies at regular intervals. Transmitter and receiver must be tightly synchronized to keep communications ongoing. The hardware handles the timing of hops and chooses the next frequency without sending any information about such activity, so eavesdropping is nearly impossible. Second is the direct sequence modulation. Direct sequence modulation breaks data into fixed-size segments called chips and transmits the data on several different frequencies at the same time. The receiving equipment knows that frequencies to monitor and understands how to reassemble the arriving chips into properly arranged sequence of data. And the direct sequence networks typically operate in an unregulated frequency and provide bandwidths from 2 to 6 Mbps depending on the number of dummy channels used. So that's all for my report. Next is Christy Ganade.
Hey guys! What device do you have with you all the time? Diba itong mga phone? Yeah, but you guys probably also have a tablet or laptop that you use to access work application. Most especially gamit ko siya karon sa itong mga online classes and then sa mga businesses. So, this is what I will discuss about. The 802.11 wireless networking, or referred to as Wi-Fi. Wireless fidelity. Wi-Fi is a critical component of how we connect at the edge, whether that edge is in the office, school, and every edge of our home. The 802.11 wireless networking completed in 1997 and has been continual development. With it, manufacturers of wireless networking devices have both an expensive, reliable wireless LANs to homes and businesses. There are 8 standards based on my research. The first standard is the version A and B, both created in 1997. The A version has a 5 GHz boosted data rates to 54 megabytes per second, while the B version has a 2.4 GHz frequency and boosted data rates to 11 megabytes per second. And then the version G, released in 2003. This was the next significant wireless standard with a speed of 54 megabytes per second in the 2.4 and 5 GHz frequency. Excuse me. The standard 802.11 version N, released in 2009, operates in both 2.4 and 5 GHz frequency, same as the version G, and has a speed of 600 megabytes per second, while the version AC is what we use now for Wi-Fi connectivity, released in 2013 And this version provides a frequency of 2.4 and 5 and speeds of 450 and 1300 megabytes per second. While the version AD, released in 2012, and has a frequency of 60 gigahertz and a speed of 6.76 gigahertz per second. I know, 6.7 gigabytes per second, sorry. While the version AH, released in 2016, and has a frequency of 0.9 gigahertz and a speed of 347 megabytes per second. And lastly, one of the latest, the version AX, released in 2019 and has a frequency of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and a speed of 450 megabytes per second. So, mauna siyang mga current standards based on my research. Wireless Metropolitan Area Network, the 802.16a standard. One of the latest wireless standards. So, latest, isa po ni siya sa mga latest. The 802.16a WiMAX. The letters of WiMAX stands for Worldwide Interoperability for Microwave Access. So the AX is for access, WiMAX. So what is WiMAX? WiMAX can deliver up to 70 megabytes per second of bandwidth at distance of up to 30 miles and can operate in a wide frequency range from 2 to 66 gigahertz. And it is being considered for implementation that include mobile wireless, where a person could connect and maintain a high-speed wireless connection on a laptop while moving in a car. So in short, WiMAX technology is able to meet the needs of a large variety of users, from those in developed nations wanting to install a new high-speed data network very cheaply without the cost and time required to install a wired network, to those in rural areas needing fast access where wired solution may not be valuable because of the distances and costs involved. Microwave networking technologies. Microwave networking is a line-of-sight wireless communication technology that uses high-frequency beams of radio waves to provide high-speed and wireless connection that can send and receive voice, video, and data information. There are two types of microwave system, which is the terrestrial microwave and satellite microwave. The terrestrial microwave is a transmission or sent between two microwave stations on Earth or the Earth station. It is the most common form of long-distance communication. Terrestrial microwave system operate in the low gigahertz range, and it is also use a parabolic dish to focus a narrow beam onto a receiver antenna. In short, terrestrial microwave is a wireless microwave networking technology that uses line-of-sight communications between pairs of Earth-based transmitters and receivers to relay information. While the satellite microwave, a communication satellite is a microwave relay station used to link two or more ground stations, receives on one frequency uplink, amplifies or repeats signal and transmits on another frequency downlink. For example, uplink 5.925 to 6.425 GHz and downlink 3.7 to 4.2 GHz. Frequency bands are called transponder channels. It is also requires geostationary orbit or rotation. Much occurs at a height of 35,863 km at the equator. Need to be spaced at least 3 to 4 degrees apart to avoid interfering with each other. Spacing limits are the number of possible satellites. So yeah, this is the two types of microwave, the terrestrial and satellite microwave. Wireless local area network technologies. A wireless LAN is a wireless computer network that links two or more devices using wireless communication to form a local area network within a limited area such as homes, schools, computer laboratories, campus, or office buildings. So it states here extended. So what is an extended LAN technology? It is a wireless networking equipment extend LANs beyond their normal cable-based distance limitations or provide connectivity across areas where cables are not allowed or able to traverse. So there are characteristics of extended LAN. So the frequency range as of spread spectrum infrared laser, maximum distance 1 to 3 miles for short range, up to 25 miles for long range. The bandwidth is 1 to 6 megabytes per second for spread spectrum and 2 to 104 infrared and laser. While the installation maintenance depends on equipment, ranges from easy to difficult, interference highly resistant, and the cost is inexpensive to moderate, and the security is not very susceptible to eavesdrop. Other wireless networking technologies, the cellular packet region networking and the cellular digital packet data or CDPD. The cellular packet region networking offers by Metricon Incorporation, a wireless server at Los Gatos, CA. The cellular packet region networking offers in 3 areas in the US, which is in the San Francisco Bay, Washington, D.C., and Seattle, WA, where users in this metropolitan area can carry laptop anywhere within the coverage area and establish 2 megabytes per second connection, while the cellular digital packet data or CDPD connections at 2 kilobytes per second are already available in most major US metropolitan areas. CDPD technology is being used in handheld and palm top, like this. Handheld and palm top. Magdadala rin siya sa kamot. Used in handheld and palm top, personal devices areas for wireless internet and capabilities of those devices.